this is Asta. It is like, what seems like to me, quite possibly the next big MMORPG. And that's pretty big praise, but also at the same kind, it's kind of not, because a lot of our MMORPGs that come out these days really aren't that great. And really the biggest thing that this game has going for it is that it not necessarily imitates or copies, or it takes a lot of inspiration from World of Warcraft, and I actually really enjoyed that, because I feel actually that certain aspects of this game are better than World of Warcraft, as we'll see actually a little bit 5 minutes or so in. But like I said, it's very reminiscent of World of Warcraft, but it has its free-to-play MMORPG hooks. So for example, you have these quest dialogue there on the left side, very reminiscent of World of Warcraft. I'm almost entirely certain that they introduced that style of quest dialogue, but I'm actually not certain on that. It's definitely popularized by WoW. But you can read through it. It is relatively well written, I should say. And there's voiceover on a lot of these characters, like just one clip. You have your inventory. I like this system. I believe is separated by one, or it's sorted by one big bag instead of a whole bunch of little bags. I really didn't like that. Actually, Guild Wars 2 did solve that problem by just having the one big bag or the separate bags as you like. This one, however, is by default just the one big inventory, which is nice. And of course, you can see the UI. It's not clogging up the screen like a lot of free-to-play MMORPGs do. Also, another big point is that this game doesn't have auto path or auto combat, so there's actual weight to what you're doing, where you're going. However, they do remedy this. They have a nice half step in between both of those by showing where the quest location is underneath your character, and I really enjoy that. I really like that way, because you don't want to be stuck, right? You don't want to be like, where do I go? What do I do? And if it does show it like on the mini map or in a quest description, you don't want to have to keep going in and out, trying to figure out where you want to go. But at the same time, you don't want autopath just playing the game for you. This is a really nice middle ground in between those two. So as we'll see a little bit later, as I get towards these quests, it'll show you where I'm going. So the controls are all relatively modern. You move left and right. I think I had to change the key bindings to strafe on W, or to A and D instead of Q and E, which I don't really get that. Strafing on A and D just seems so much more natural. You have the notice boards. You have all the quest givers.
You remind me of myself when I was young.
Okay, I just wanted to be silent for just a second there to listen to that voice acting. It's misguided, I should say. It seems like I'm pretty sure this is made by a foreign company. It kind of reminds me of, like, I don't know if it's just because, like, I don't know the culture, but I feel like I got some Korean influence, some Japanese influence, and you got the Chinese influence. So it's probably more Chinese than anything, just because of that architecture. Well, actually, I'm not sure. Oh God, I actually don't know. But it gets a lot of influences from Asian culture and all that kind of stuff, that good stuff. Lots of history, lots of lore, lots of cool stuff going on, and it's a very cool, very nice looking game. So like I covered the controls, it all controls well enough. I think certain aspects be a little bit more snappy, but it's not a huge deal. And I believe this is still in beta, so I'm not really too crazy about it. Like certain UI elements to probably be, it just seems like they didn't go far enough with making this game feel like a 2016 MMORPG. It still feels like it's in 2005 or something, but it's okay. I guess you could just chalk it up to, it's nostalgic, but it's kinda dumb. There's this enhanced stats thing. I don't really get it, but basically you can enhance your stats once for free, and then you can keep basically gambling, I guess. It doesn't cost any gold. Maybe it costs more as over time. Let's see, 32. I don't know. I thought that system was kind of weird. And then there's like the inventory system is not the best. Like I said, the whole like controls and the UI is all still a little bit archaic, but it does look good. And this is on, I think, because I like to maximize my frame rate even when I'm not in like big boss battle situations. I like to keep it smooth no matter what I'm doing, so I usually put a tick lower than needed. So I believe this is just a tick under medium. And it still looks great, and it's going to look great no matter what you're playing it on, because it has this WoW-inspired kind of... It's not necessarily goofy, but it's more... What's the word? It's just... Friendly is not the word. I'm finding it difficult to describe this game in certain aspects, because it just looks aesthetically... I don't want to just say it looks aesthetically pleasing, but that is exactly what it is. It has nice colors, it's relatively well modeled, the animations are okay. Again, it's kind of like certain aspects of the animation are a bit dull, and modeling is a bit dull in certain places. It's just, it seems like in almost every aspect, Asta is just trying to be good enough, which, I mean, that's a solid business model to go for good enough, but
I need a target.
and the voice acting, like I was saying earlier, it's like it was handled by a foreign person who doesn't speak the language, and they were like, you know what, you do the voice acting, you do this voice acting, you do that voice acting, but they didn't really... I don't feel like it was localized all that well in that aspect. Like, you have this, like, 20-year-old, like, voice actor kid doing, like, an 80-year-old man, and he tries to ham it up a little bit, but it just doesn't work.
Knowledge is an asset
And, like,
that cannot be stolen.
Like, some of them sound so robotic. It's so... It's like... I hate to say that it takes me out of the experience when the experience isn't that immersive to begin with, but it really is jarring how... It's, like, the audio quality is fine, but, like, what is actually being spoken is really poorly done. But enough about that. So, it looks great, controls well, UI is okay, and now we're finally about to get to the combat, which is, of course, the meat of the game. And I should say, this doesn't have, at least as far as I've seen, it doesn't have any of the trappings of a terrible MMORPG, as we've reviewed so many times. So in that aspect, it's just like a pretty good WoW clone, I could say by this. But the combat is really I like a lot. So it's very snappy, like it gets right into it, and then you have this neat effect on your sword. Even on a low level sword ability, you get this really nice, like visually like exciting kind of thing going on. And that was only just like a basic attack. And then as you get into more abilities, it actually gets much more, like, you know, interesting. Like, look at that, look how cool that effect is. It's so snappy. It's like animation. Or, I mean, anime, not animated. Of course it's animation. It looks like anime. And that's so cool. And then there's like this bar on the left. I have no idea what that does. I imagine it's some kind of special meter. But you can't get too crazy with that when it comes to PvP and all that. So I don't expect too much, but there's something building up there, and I'm excited to see it. So I got this new combat skill leveled up pretty quickly. Oh yeah, I should say, this is the warrior. And there's several different classes. There was warrior, mage, rogue, healer. What was the other one? There's a couple more, but it's got your... I'm pretty sure that this game follows the standard... what's the Holy Trinity, I think it's called? So if you're gonna be doing raids or whatever, dungeons, you're gonna have the healer, you're gonna have the rogue, you're gonna have the warrior, you're gonna have the tank and the mage. You're gonna have like one of each, and you never want to double up on too many of the same one, but you also can't have too many supports because, you know... Oh, look at that! Look how cool that is! So that's really cool. And I imagine as you get into the more advanced abilities, it looks a lot more cool. And like blocking has this really satisfying, like, boom, kind of like shield thing. It's really good. Like, it's so good. And this is only like the first couple levels, and it's that, like, interesting. I really applaud them for that. Like, I just wish they had opened with the combat, because you actually open with go through these menus, talk to these people. It's just weird to see, like, game design. I would consider a game design mistake not to just get right into the meat of the combat. Like, if you look at Final Fantasy VI, which every game designer should play, by the way, if you get into Final Fantasy VI, as you'll notice, they get into the combat immediately. But yeah, Asta, it's not bad.
You're my hero.